Thank you for clicking on this video. I have a lot to tell you about an experience that I just had and also about what I've been learning with regards to bacteria and viruses. It's kind of a complicated study if you're not familiar with the groundwork of it. So I posted a video that I've been studying. It's called The Church of Virology, and I only posted part one. If anyone watches the video and likes it, then I'll post part two, and there's three parts. But basically, I've been studying those and just listening to them over and over again. So I want to share with you in a consolidated form what is being conveyed in those videos, and this is actual science that's provable and repeatable, and real scientists know what I'm about to talk about. So I'll start with the experience that I had today. I ate some cheese that was in my fridge. And this cheese, I looked at the cheese. It looked okay, but it was in my fridge forever. Like it's been in my fridge for so long, but it just hasn't grown any mold or anything. So I just tried to eat some of this cheese. And even though I cooked it partially with my spaghetti, it was still like not cooked, because as soon as I ate it, my stomach started to hurt. So now I'm gonna tell you just my going from there, because that's a good place to start. So my new understanding about bacteria and viruses is that they come from inside of your cells. They come from inside of the cells of living things. So the first thing I did was, when my stomach started to hurt, I grabbed the parasite herbs that I have. There's cloves, there's wormwood, and black walnut. If anybody wants to know the protocol for killing parasites, that's what it is. But I was like, okay, well, if bacteria and viruses come from within your cells, then what am I really killing here? What is happening to my stomach right now? So what I came up with is that well, there's two things that could have happened with the cheese, because it's a dairy product. So for one thing, it could have come from an animal who was sick, because most of the animals in the agricultural world are sick. They're filled with tumors. They're filled with parasites. And so when you get dairy products, you're definitely getting some of their E. coli, and some of their salmonellas, and some of their staphylococcuses and streps and stuff, because they all are terribly inflamed. All the animals are inflamed, because if you had to produce 10 gallons of milk a day out of one body, you'd be inflamed too. So I mean, they're putting all of this really harsh cleaner on the udders, and it's causing inflammation, it's causing infection and pus and stuff like that in the dairy products. So that's one thing, because I was like, okay, because I'm thinking of bacteria, like, where does it come from? So it comes from inside of the cow cells. The cells of the cow, wherever it is, let's say it's on the udders, right? The udders are getting inflamed and irritated from the udder wash, and also from all this pressure of these machines, because they get milk like 10 times a day, literally. So the cells that are in those delicate udders are responding by creating viruses and bacteria from inside of its own self. So the cell itself is saying, oh gosh, this is terrible. This is a toxic situation. I need to clean up in here. So the cell produces viruses. Like I described in an earlier video, it's like if you saw that you spilled an egg on the ground, like you dropped an egg, you would grab something to clean that up. And you would throw it, you would get in a paper towel and you would throw it in the trash. Well, that's what a virus is. A virus is a bag of toxic stuff that's inside of the cell. So the cell produces all of these viruses in order to contain the contamination so that it doesn't kill the cell. So after the cell is filled with viruses, because it has to clean up. It's cleaning up. So the viruses are proliferating inside of the cell. And once the cell gets filled with viruses too much, then it perforates the cell. And then the viruses spew out of the cell. And when those viruses spew out, the bacteria come along that were made. I think the bacteria also, the cell also makes bacteria to come and eat the viruses. So the bacteria is the garbage man. The virus is the virus is the bag of garbage, and the bacteria is the garbage man that's going to come and remove the garbage from the body because it has to go out. It cannot stay in your body. Whenever you're exposed to anything toxic, whether it be, and even temperature can be toxic. If it's too high or too low, it can cause some cell death. So anytime there's any kind of decay or toxic exposure to chemicals or pathogens or things, your cells create viruses and bacteria. So that's why whenever you have an infection or you have some kind of reaction to some kind of toxic exposure, they blame the viruses and the bacteria as if the viruses and the bacteria were the cause. But actually the cause was the fact that you just breathed in a toxic, maybe you breathed in gasoline or something, and it made you have this phlegm and stuff. In the video, they talk about the firemen. Like the firemen show whenever there's a fire, there's firemen. So would you automatically assume that the fireman is the reason for the fire? It's that same concept. So the bacteria eats the viruses, and then then phagocytosis comes from your T cells and your B cells, which are your white blood cells, and they come and they mop up the bacteria. And the reason that they mop up the bacteria is because the bacteria poop inside of you. The bacteria are alive, and they poop inside of you. And that poop causes pain in your body, inflammation as well. So you shouldn't have bacteria poop floating around in your bloodstream and stuff. So your white blood cells come along and they absorb the bacteria that ate the virus. So all of this is your immune system. All of it is. All of this is your immune system, or the animal's immune system. So when you're eating animal or dairy or something like that, then you're actually eating their garbage bags and eating their bacteria, which are filled with viruses that are filled with garbage. That's why some people get sick right away if they eat dairy, or have something that's not cooked all the way, like a burger that doesn't have a little E. coli or something on it, because all those bacterias, they're not just free radicals. They're not just flying through the air or something. Or no, the cell makes them. Okay, the cell produces these things in order to heal itself and to save itself. So whenever you're eating bacteria, you're eating something that's unclean. So that's one of the things I want to say about the cheese. But then the other thing is, let's see. The other thing is that the cheese itself, well, there's really three things actually. So the cheese itself is a living thing. Okay, the cheese itself is a living thing. It is a living, breathing organism. It is alive. Okay, food is alive. Anything that is biological has life. Even a dead tree in the woods has life. But it's just it's the life force is very low. But what happens when something starts to decay and starts to die, the viruses and bacteria come again from inside of the cells of the food or whatever, and these bacteria and these viruses eat the food. So when you see mold on something, that's coming from inside of the cell of that germ of wheat or whatever the bread was made from. So you can also eat that, and you're eating products of decay, and that will make you sick as well. And then the third one is that if you have cheese that's just sitting in your fridge and it's sitting there for a long time, it is going to start to germinate and grow organisms in it. Okay, because there are parasites and different spores and things that are flying through the air. But I mean, the parasites aren't flying through the air, but parasites are a part of the cheese. It comes along with the cheese because usually animals have parasites. So most animal foods do come along with some parasites, and so do vegetables, because vegetables are grown in manure, and there's a lot of life in the soil that's coming along with your vegetables. That's why you should always clean your vegetables really well. But that was the third thing I want to say about the cheese, is that it's kind of a petri dish. It's just sitting in the fridge, and it's just hosting a party. There's lots of things growing in there. So when I ate the cheese, my stomach was upset. So it took me all off on this whole tangent and thought process about what am I really, with my new understanding, what do I know now? So So basically, bacteria and viruses are cleaning products. Okay, it's the way that the cells heal themselves and cleanse themselves. It's the way that the cells get rid of toxic stuff. And when the cells get really overwhelmed, that's when you see spike proteins, and that's what the picture of the CV virus is. That's called a spike protein. I saw it in the microscope. That's when the cell is floating around in some really heavy toxic stuff, and it needs to be, and they make this in a petri dish by toxifying. What they do, they take cells that are already dying and in a state of decay, and then they add antibiotics to that, and then they add different drugs and stuff so that the cells really spike. They want them to spike because they want to call that a virus. They want to freak you out and make you think, that that's an aggressive predator that's out to get you, when God never created such a thing. There's nothing that's against God's own creation. God didn't create anything against itself at all, period. And so what they're doing, what they're creating in the laboratory is artificial. It's not from a clean, pure culture. They've never isolated a virus. There's no such thing. A virus is just a bag of garbage. What they're identifying as a virus is actually something that arrives after a toxic exposure, and it's a bag of garbage. So it spikes when the garbage is too much, like, little spike, things pop out of it because it I guess it expands or something. Maybe it just expands to create more room within itself to carry out more toxins. That was what I was thinking. So bacteria, if you're taking in another animal's bacteria, or if you're taking in bacteria from the environment, because there's bacteria all over everything, because there's bacteria in the soil. So the soil is there's a lot of spores and bacteria everywhere. So if you allow that to grow inside of your body, sometimes it's not a problem, but then other times, those bacteria will eat. Because I was like, okay, well, what if I didn't kill them then? What if I just ate the cheese and didn't kill it and do anything about it? And what I thought about was that those bacteria would change into something else. They were made for some reason, but bacteria are shapeshifters, and they're adaptable, and they're really quite a miracle. And they can become whatever they want to become. But if you let bacteria live in your body without killing them, they will eat your nutrients. They'll eat your nutrients, and they will poop, and because they have a metabolism. So they're eating and they're pooping, and they're taking nutrition away from you. So you do want to kill the bacteria that's just floating around in your body. You shouldn't have extra bacteria floating around. The bacteria that you have is mostly in your gut, and that bacteria needs to be fed with probiotics and prebiotics. But pathogenic bacteria isn't anything to mess with. You don't want to let it live in your body. So once again, the protocol for killing bacteria and parasites as well is, I know this is backwards, and I'm not going to edit it, but it says green black walnut blend. Okay, so green black walnut blend, and then this one is cloves. This kills the eggs, okay, because bacteria proliferate, and they lay not viruses, but parasites and bacteria proliferate, and they lay eggs, and they want to live just like any other living thing. So cloves kills the eggs. But between these three things, and this one is wormwood, and all of these you can find on the Dr. Clark store online.com. Under parasite cleanse, and these kill everything except for tapeworm. Tapeworm is the only thing that this doesn't kill. And I've told my tapeworm story before in the past, so I'm not gonna suffer you through that again. But I hope that I have been able to simplify things a bit, so that if you do watch the Church of Virology video, which I highly recommend, is 45 minutes, that's going to change your life. It's going to enlighten you. It's going to really help you avoid all of the pitfalls of the modern day media, which is just a straight up aggressive liar, and it's trying to make you into a victim. It's trying to make us all think that something's wrong with us and something's wrong with our environment. God didn't make anything against us, okay? There's nothing on this earth that's against us. There's nothing on this earth that's against us. There's no animal that's against us. There's no insect that's against us. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there's not predatory animals, under the right circumstances that wouldn't eat us, but they're not coming for us. You know what I mean? Like, there's no animals that are made just to eat us. We have bacteria, we have virus from within our own cells, and it's a blessing, and it's part of our immune system, and God is good. So thanks for watching.